Rodrigo, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, man?
Really good. Such a pleasure to talk to you today. I've just a few minutes ago finished the first episode of Wolfpack, and I gotta say, it really hits the ground running. It immediately grabbed my attention, with thanks to, I guess the scale, the scope of it was kind of shocking to see all at once, and it was more grown up, I guess, than I was expecting, a bit more adult aimed than I was expecting. So I'm wondering, like, was that your perception as well when you kind of were given the script in the first place? Did you have an idea of what it was going to be compared to how it actually is?
Not really. I wasn't very familiar, to be honest, with. I knew about Teen Wolf. It's the same creator. I knew that the idea was to do a more of a a darker show. It was. He told me that, but what caught my attention when I read the script was just the story. It was just like how he was able to tell a story that, you know, I was like immediately I was involved with the characters. I thought that they have like a very interesting development in the first episode already. So it was really the writing. I read it. I'm like, well, it's my first time doing, like a supernatural show. I've never adventured myself in anything like that. Uh, and it was just like if you put aside the genre, it's just the story itself and the character of Garrick that you don't get to see much in the first and second episode. But then, from the third episode until the eighth episode, he will just show you a bit of who he is, or who he's trying to be. But what caught my attention was that this is a great story. I really like the story, and I had a great meeting with Jeff Davis, and he was very just straightforward, like completely open to collaboration, and it was great. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna try that. Why not? I like the character, I like the story, but I have to confess, it's really all new territory for me.
Yeah, like the show literally opens on you. So I was surprised that it veers away, and you come back in a little bit in the first episode, and then it veers away again. So it does set up a lot of mysteries, both in terms of the event that takes place in the first episode, and then a number of other mysteries as well. And it does seem like your character is directly involved to some, if not all of them.
Yeah.
So without giving any spoilers whatsoever, because I want to watch it too, and I want to have
Okay.
it kind of happen to me episode by episode, but without giving any spoilers whatsoever, can you give a kind of an indication to potential viewers and like fans of the direction we can expect the story to go in?
So in the first episode, you understand that the wildfire awakened this supernatural creature. Garrett worked as a park ranger. He's the father of two teenagers that have a very special condition, and the direction that this is going to go is that, of course, from the start, you see in the first episode, wild, crazy, out of control, and Garrett will have to try to control the situation. Uh, the thing is, when you meet Garrett, he's trapped in the fire, and there's this huge, open, he's like he exposed himself. I think it's surprising even for him, because he thinks he's not going to make it, and he's opening his heart. So it's interesting. That was one thing that called my attention. Is like, oh, what a way to introduce a character. Like, you just meet him, and it's opening his heart and talking about his feelings for his kids and this and that. But then the movement, it's the opposite, which you will see. But basically, he will do anything to protect his daughter and his son from outsiders, but especially from themselves. He's in a conflict. He's in a moral crisis because he serves a community as a park ranger. But inside his own home, he has a situation that he has to hold secrets, very important secrets for the story. So going back to what you were saying, I think the interesting thing in this show, now I can say after 8 episodes is that what you used to see, and you have the adults and the young characters in this kind of shows. The dynamic between adult and young characters are very different than you used to see, which I think it's great. So basically saying it will be all, we got to interact a lot, and he's going to be in the middle of everything.
And then we've got Sarah Michelle Gellar. Now, again, not in the first episode much. Just looking at the trailer, it looks like your two characters might have some interesting interactions. But obviously, fans would be hugely aware of her supernatural television background. And she's also an executive producer on this as well. I was reading there. So, what is the dynamic like working with someone who has such a huge fan base when it comes to this genre? Like, is she just like, yeah, I know what to expect from these fans, or is it this kind of is there like unique dynamic there with someone with that specific CV?
To me, it was very helpful because it's a completely unknown territory for me, and having somebody like Sarah that has so much experience and is considered to be an icon in this world. She's pretty much a trailblazer. So it was like I had right next to me somebody that knew exactly what was going on set, and so that was very helpful. She's great to work with. It was great. Yesterday we were giving interviews together, and people were asking her, why this project? It's been a while, why you chose this one. It was beautiful to see, to hear how passionate she is about this project, and why she chose this project, that she believes so much in the writing, and Jeff, the world he's creating. But she was, she was very hands-on as a producer. She was making sure that we were all, not only cast, crew, everyone, that, the environment, the atmosphere was great on set. And as a partner, she's got a great sense of humor, and we had a great time. I didn't know what to expect in this kind of shows, like, oh, sort of like genre, like horror. Are we gonna be? It's all gonna be tense and dark, and like what's gonna be the experience? And I had a blast with her. You know what? We just had a great time working together, and yeah, I mean, we come from very different backgrounds, so it was great to encounter somebody like her that has a lot of experience, but in a different world. Yeah, we got along very, very well, and it's been great.
It's lovely to hear. You love to hear nice things about nice people, so that's lovely to hear. Looking back over your own personal CV, we're in 2023 now officially. So this year will be the 20-year anniversary of both Charlie's Angels Full Throttle and Love Actually, which I
Wow.
think is pretty much the two movies where you kind of exploded into the world. They were the two movies that like may have introduced you to the majority of cinema
Yeah,
going fans and stuff. So, and they're both 20 years old this year. So I'm gonna do one at a time. Do you have particular memory of working on Charlie's Angels Full Trouble?
I do. I do.
Yeah,
Wow, 20 years. That's how
and
old I am. That's great. Okay.
that's how long I've been watching you in the movies and TV.
Nice. Yeah, Charlie's Angels, I remember the way it happened was I came here, it was my first premiere. I came with a Brazilian film called Behind the Sun, directed by Walter Salles, very famous
Oh yeah,
Brazilian director, great director. And we got a release here in the States, and I came here for the premiere. And after the premiere, the producer of Charlie's Angels, Nancy Juvonen, which was partnered with Drew Barrymore, was at the premiere, and came to me and said, "Hey, I would like to get in touch with you. We're doing this movie, Charlie's Angels." I'm like, "Okay, okay, cool." It was my first time here in Hollywood, and first premiere and all that. And then she said, I got in touch with her back in the day. There was
sure.
we weren't all addicted to this. And she said, "Well, it's a cameo. It's Charlie's Angels. It's Drew Barrymore. Demi Moore, Cameron Diaz, and I'm like just listening. She's like, wow, I just don't know. It's a character that he needs to surf and to ride a motorcycle. I'm like, is that a job? I'm gonna get paid to do this? Are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, and we're gonna shoot in LA. So the memory I had is like it was like a vacation, a paid vacation. It was like I came here, stayed in Santa Monica. I surfed every day, and then I went to set. I shot a couple of scenes. I met those, amazing actresses that I've seen in movies, and I got to see, like a big action film set. Like how they do, where they put the camera and all that. I was very young, and it was great. I have the best memories. Love Actually. Love
Yeah.
Actually. Love Actually, I have this great memory, which is when Mary Selway. Do you remember Mary Selway? One of the biggest casting directors the UK, had. She passed away, but she was huge.
Okay.
Mary Selway, who I met at the Venice Film Festival for the same film, Behind the Sun. She got in touch with me, and then they flew me to London for a table reading. You guys are amazing. Table reading in the movies. You do in theater, but then, okay, table reading. I'm like, sure, I'm coming for the table reading. I get there, and it's like this long table with all the little, signs with names. And as soon as I get there, I see Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, and Liam Neeson, and I'm like, it really felt like I was inside a movie myself. Just I was so young, and I'm like, these guys I grew up watching. It's like, it's not possible. And then I saw, the sign. It was Laura Linney, which was my partner, and right next to it, my name, and right next to it, Rowan Atkinson. And at the time, I knew Mr. Bean, and I kind of knew his name, but I didn't put it together. So I sit there, let's see who this guy is. And then I'm across Emma, Alan, amazing Alan Rickman, Liam Neeson, and we all sit in there. And then Bill Nye, it was like ridiculous, that table. And I'm sitting there, and my legs literally start shaking. I couldn't stop. It was involuntary. I was so nervous. I'm like, my God. And I had a couple lines. I could barely speak English at the time, but I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna do my best. So, and then Rowan Atkinson arrived and sat next to me. I'm like, it's Mr. Bean. Then I gotta leave. I'm not gonna be able to do this. So Laura grabbed my wrist and said, it's okay. I'm here with you. I can imagine how you feel. It's gonna be all right. And we did the table reading. Of course, in first line, I stuttered, and then she grabbed, and then, I remember Emma Thompson, her expression, when you great, when you're bigger than life, she just embraced me with her look. She was so generous, the way she looked at me, meaning like it's because she was right in front of me, right across the table. And just like, without saying nothing, she said, it's okay. It's okay. And that's my first memory from, the casting process of Love Actually.
Again, it's just lovely to hear lovely stories about lovely people. So
yeah,
that's fantastic.
That was very memorable. I will never forget that table, and I will never forget how they interact, with each other, how down to earth was that environment with so many big stars, but they were just so cool. It was just another day in the office, and I was the one who was, kind of freaking out, but it was good.
Tremendous. Rodrigo, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
So this is how it starts. Get fangs, get claws, and then we start killing people?
What are you worried about? What keeps you up at night?
We've never killed anything before.
You've never had it back before.